How's it going? Wow, there are all these humans. It's amazing to see you all. We really don't, you know, it's a funny thing in the world today. I don't really see humans like this, like just cool ones who aren't nerds in these numbers all the time. It's so great. Thank you for being here. Do any of you know what this is? All right, it's an instrument. I'm going to play a little bit and then I'll tell you about it. Can even hear. It's like this really weird place with this roar and everything. So this thing's called a can. It's from Laos, and it's arguably the origin of binary numbers, the kinds of numbers we use in computers. It's very ancient, probably older than the abacus, and it's got a bunch of objects all in a row that are either off or on. There's 16 of them. Oh, I see there's me. So it's a 16-bit number. Now, you might say, well, that's cute, but is it really the origin of computer numbers? Well, yeah, it kind of is. So here's what happened. In ancient times, these instruments traveled across the Silk Route to Europe. The ancient Greeks knew about them, as did the Romans. The Romans made a giant version that was operated by steam. It was one of the first steam-powered machines, and it was called the hydraulis. And they used it to make the sound effects and the music to go with gore in the Colosseum, when animals would tear each other apart and that sort of thing. So, it turns out the hydraulis was so big that humans couldn't really operate it and open and close the holes. So they had teams of slave boys that were operating these crossbars that semi-automated it. So the hydraulis evolved, it turned into the pipe organ, and it turned into the harpsichord and the piano. And all along from the very beginning, at every stage of evolution, the people who made organs and pianos played with automation, because that was the origin in the hydraulis. Around Mozart's time, somebody made a player piano that was non-deterministic, meaning that it didn't always play the same song. It improvised a little bit. The mechanism that allowed it to do that inspired a guy named Jacquard to make a programmable loom for fabric. And that machine inspired somebody named Babbage to make a programmable calculator. And that inspired, or to attempt to make it, and that inspired a guy named Turing to come up with the general theater for computers. So this is actually the origin of computers. Right there. This is, if you're having trouble paying your rent in San Francisco, this is to blame. This is it. This is where it all started. Now the thing is, one of the things I love about the history of machines is you think that what drove technology from ancient times on was weaponry, was people competing with each other. But just as often, and maybe even more often, it was musical instruments and instruments for art and creativity. The musical bow preceded the bow and arrow, obviously. The casting of metal for bells preceded the ability to make cannons. Hewlett-Packard, the first Silicon Valley company, sold what as its first product? A music synthesizer used in the Disney film Fantasia. That was the first product in Silicon Valley. Well, not in the region, but of what we think of as a Silicon Valley company. So, to me, one of the reasons I love this instrument, and one of the reasons I play it in public so much, well, first, it's a great instrument, right? But also, it reminds us of this idea of musical instruments as a form of connection between people, as a form of expression, not as a form of gaining power and trying to trick people and all of that.